When you think of the United States' relationship with the native people who populated the land for centuries before Europeans ever set foot in America, what pops in your mind? There are likely two answers to this question. The Wampanoag tribe attending Thanksgiving with the Pilgrims in 1621, or the Trail of Tears, a massive campaign of tribe destruction as the states vamped up their expansion craze in the early 1800s. These moments were great and horrible respectively, but unfortunately common knowledge of our country's interaction with Native Americans begins to get hazy as the timeline moved on past the Civil War. Most people just assumed it ended with Andrew Jackson's Indian Removal Act, aka the catalyst of the Trail of Tears, and American history just moved past it and continued onward. The clashing with Indians would not end there. Conflicts in the Reconstruction era would build until the 1880s, where the country was introduced to the Dawes Act, or the General Allotment Act. After the Trail of Tears, remaining native tribes lived on reservations in the West, out of the way of Americans. That is, until the U.S. ran out of room again and began a second push westward. So the question arose, how do we get access to all of this land that the Native Americans are living on? Enter Senator Henry Dawes in 1887 with the General Allotment Act, which would not necessarily take land away from natives, but rather buy it from them while letting individual natives live on different parts of it. This sounded great to President Grover Cleveland, as well as most of Congress at the time, because it passed, becoming effective in February of 1887. The government then set out to divide up Indian reservations across the West. You see, the tragedy that coincided with the Dawes Act was not of its own purpose, but rather its foolishness. For all the supporters of the Dawes Act, it was not viewed as a movement to harm Native Americans in any way, especially not like the infamous Trail of Tears. No, instead it was viewed as a courtesy to natives by setting them up for success in the modern world. It was a full-on act of assimilation, eliminating the tribal ways of life and making the Native Americans more, well, American. Any Indians that would accept their allotment of land would officially become a U.S. citizen, but they would be expected to farm it as any European American would, as well as support the government in the same way. Along with the general cluelessness many Indians felt at how to simulate the American lifestyle, the land given to many of them was bottom of the barrel, unfit for sustaining a life. The actual farmable land from the reservations was actually sold to the white settlers. The Dawes Act was the last bit of effort needed to eliminate what was left of Native American tribe culture, and nobody even realized it. The government was too deep into expansion to realize the catastrophe in its hands. As time went on in the 21st century, the damage done by the Dawes Act took form. Native American tribes were only a title. The Indian cultures, although weak before 1887, were now virtually gone from the physical world. Eventually, as Western expansion stopped being a concern to America, we'd begin to make efforts to restore tribal life and culture. President Franklin Roosevelt would support the U.S. Indian Reorganization Act during the Great Depression, allowing the restoration of recognized Indian tribes along with their own autonomy. Today, we're able to view Native Americans and their tribes with the utmost respect and reverence, but the damage done in the past is irreversible today, and all we can do as a society is live our lives with acknowledgement of how we can easily damage the society like we did with the Native Americans.